During my year studying in Mexico, my friend and I took advantage of the semester breaks to explore the country through backpacking trips. As our exchange program neared its end, we decided to fly back home from a nearby city, known for its budget-friendly flights, even though the city itself lacked tourist attractions. Through Airbnb, we found accommodation with a seemingly friendly family. The husband was Mexican, while the wife hailed from Europe and could speak our native language. They kindly offered to pick us up from the airport when we arrived. Unfortunately, our arrival took place after dark, and the bus driver refused to take us all the way to the airport, leaving us stranded on a desolate highway in an unfamiliar and not so safe part of Mexico. We contacted our hosts, and the husband reluctantly picked us up, making for an awkward and tense ride. Upon arriving at their residence, we were welcomed by the wife, who was talkative and hospitable. While the husband remained silent throughout the evening, we had a pleasant dinner and decided to explore the town the following day before our flight. After returning to the house, we thought it would be nice to smoke some leftover weed on our last night. However, as the hosts had children, we asked their permission to do so on the terrace. Surprisingly, they not only granted permission, but seemed excessively interested in the weed, even mentioning their thoughts about selling it in the past. To our shock, the husband disclosed that he had been involved with the cartel as a contract killer in his teenage years. We were taken aback by this revelation, but decided to stay calm, hoping we would be safe since we were his guests. I'm currently on a cross-country road trip in my car, which has been ongoing for over a week since I left my city. To save money, I've been sleeping in my car, but once I reached a larger city, I decided to treat myself to a comfortable bed. I chose Airbnb as my accommodation option because it's more affordable than hotels. With little time to spare, I booked an Airbnb in the city I was about to reach. However, due to the limited options, I ended up choosing a seemingly new and modern apartment in a great location. Though it had no reviews yet, despite this, I thought the low price was due to it being a new listing and gave it a chance, trusting in Airbnb's legitimacy. Upon arriving at the apartment building, I noticed it looked older than expected. Nevertheless, I assumed that my rented apartment was the only renovated one, as the rest of the building appeared run down like a dormitory. I let it slide, content that at least the apartment itself matched the pictures. The first 2 days in the apartment went smoothly, and I took all necessary safety precautions since I was a solo female traveler. However, on the 3rd day, while I was getting ready to head out, someone unexpectedly unlocked the door and tried to open it. Thankfully, I had put the chain lock on, preventing them from fully opening it. I immediately closed the door and locked it again. I was terrified, realizing that someone had keys to the apartment and could potentially enter at any time. I couldn't determine who it was, as I didn't see the person through the door's peephole. Distressed, I called the owner and explained the situation. She assured me that only she and I had keys to the apartment, and she was at work when it happened. Feeling unsafe, I didn't want to stay there, but I also didn't want to leave my belongings unattended. After discussing it with my dad, he advised me that this situation was unacceptable and the owner needed to address it immediately. The owner promised to come with a locksmith to change the locks and provide me with a new set of keys. She mentioned that she had only owned the apartment for 6 months and had been renovating it, which explained the mismatch between the apartment and the building's appearance. She speculated that the previous owners or someone related to them might have the keys, which seemed illegal. This experience left me shaken, and I couldn't help but wonder how someone knew I was there at that specific time. The uncertainty and fear haunted my mind, and I was incredibly grateful that I had put the chain lock on the door. The incident made me realize the importance of reviews and safety measures when choosing accommodations. Needless to say, I won't be leaving a positive review for this Airbnb, nor will I stay in any place with no reviews or one that seems too good to be true. At the age of 25, I made the most significant decision of my life: to move across the country and attend grad school. Life on the East Coast hadn't been treating me well since I finished my undergraduate studies. I was stuck into dead-end jobs, trapped in a toxic relationship, and battling a general feeling of depression. Despite having had an amazing time during my college years. In preparation for my departure, I meticulously planned the trip weeks in advance. I chose a route through the middle of the country, passing through states like Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico. With no strict deadline to arrive at my destination, I decided to drive for 10 to 15 hours per day and find affordable accommodations on the way. Preferring Airbnb rentals for their homely feel over expensive hotels. The first day of driving was the longest, lasting 14 hours until I reached Nashville. After checking into my Airbnb rental, I enjoyed some barbecue and drifted off while watching TV. The next morning, I hit the road again, exhilarated by the liberating feeling of driving cross-country. However, after about 12 hours on the road, fatigue started setting in, and I began to feel the stress of driving for so long. I stopped for coffee and to book my next stay, eventually finding a cheap cabin for $60 a night called Bob's Mountain Getaway. The cabin seemed simple but safe, and I was relieved to have found an affordable option. But as I read through the description, something felt off. The poster's enthusiasm to make it sound like a resort raised my suspicion. My mind wandered to stories of people getting murdered in remote cabins, and I decided to play it safe and head to Oklahoma City for a more secure place to stay. The rest of my trip went smoothly, and I marveled at the scenic landscapes of the Western Mountains. 2 years later, I had successfully completed grad school, secured a good job, and found myself in a healthy relationship. Listening to a true crime podcast called The Last Podcast on the Left, I came across a segment about strange happenings. They discussed a news story titled The Eunuch Makers, where two men had rented a cabin on an LGBTQ app similar to Airbnb, posing as surgeons offering gender reassignment surgeries. The horrifying story involved botched surgeries and gruesome practices with body parts. Intrigued, I googled the story and came across a picture of the cabin. It looked eerily familiar, and I realized it was the same cabin I had seen on Airbnb 2 years ago. I had even taken a screenshot of it due to its creepy appearance. The realization that such horrifying events had taken place in the very same place where I almost stayed sent chills down my spine. While it's unlikely any harm would have befallen me, knowing what had happened there made me thankful for prioritizing my safety and spending a bit more to stay in a secure location. In November of 2021, I traveled from Philly to Las Vegas to participate in a jiu-jitsu tournament. Normally, I would stay with fellow competing teams to save money, but this time I had to book an Airbnb alone due to various reasons. I hastily booked an Airbnb close to the Vegas Strip, but I didn't realize the neighborhood wasn't the safest. Upon arrival, I didn't see the host, and the Airbnb profile picture was of a flower, making it hard to identify them. The host gave me the key code to a small studio apartment that shared a wall with their house. The first red flag was that the key code for the door was simply 127, which seemed odd. However, I brushed it off, assuming the host might not be tech savvy. Around 9:30 p.m., things started to get creepy. I heard tapping on the window in front of my bed, but the drapes blocked my view of the person making the noise. I responded with a loud hello, and the tapping stopped. Feeling uneasy, I messaged the host to ask if it was them tapping on the window. They replied about an hour later, claiming they were going to bring me some water but assumed I was asleep, so they left. Still feeling uneasy, I decided to stay put instead of going out for a walk or showering. At around midnight, I heard noise outside and the distinct sound of someone trying the key code on my door. After a couple of failed attempts, they managed to unlock the door, and I quickly slammed it shut in their face. I yelled at the person to leave, and they claimed that the room was theirs, referring to the host by the name Karen. I kept shouting and called the police, while the person outside remained combative and unapologetic. When the police arrived, they were not surprised by my story and agreed to stay until I could arrange an Uber to leave. The host's alibi for the intruder kept changing, adding to the suspicion. Finally, when the Uber arrived, I felt relieved to leave the place. It still bothers me that I never saw the person who was trying to enter my room. I suspect it might have been a setup, since the tapping earlier in the evening could have been a calculated attempt to invade my privacy at a time when I would be most vulnerable, considering the time zone difference. While it's possible it could have been just a robbery, the situation could have been much worse. During my trip to Arizona for a job interview, I booked an Airbnb in a secluded area. The Airbnb, located on a dead-end road, provided a beautiful view of the desert from its backyard. It was a cost-effective option compared to hotels, and it was conveniently about half an hour away from my interview location. During the trip, I kept myself busy by working on my laptop during the day and exploring the town in my spare time. However, some unusual incidents made the experience unsettling. The night before my interview, around 9 p.m., I heard a tapping sound on the living room window, but upon checking, I found nothing outside. After my successful interview, I continued to enjoy the trip, unaware that someone might be watching me. At night, while watching Netflix, the tapping sound returned. Making it clear it wasn't a mere bug, I checked the surroundings, but didn't find anyone. Later, I heard a strange clicking sound from a distance beyond the house's light, which further increased my unease. The next night, as I was watching Breaking Bad on my laptop before bed, the clicking sound returned, this time muffled from inside the closet. Startled, I left the house and called the police, suspecting someone might be inside. After a quick investigation, the police didn't find anyone, and I decided to leave and stay at a nearby hotel. I informed Airbnb and the host about the incident, but I only received a partial refund. The strange occurrences left me wondering whether it was the host or a stranger who had access to the house. There were no signs of forced entry, hinting that the intruder might have had a key, raising suspicions about the host's involvement. Nevertheless, I couldn't be certain and left with an unsettling feeling about the entire experience. During the summer of 2016, my boyfriend Sean and I embarked on a trip to Vermont. For our stay, I booked an Airbnb that was advertised as an off-grid cabin, boasting a stellar 5-star rating with hundreds of reviews, which reassured us about its safety. The cabin itself was an old one-room structure, featuring a pot-belly stove and a loft area. But no electricity. It was situated in a remote part of Vermont, accessible through an old dirt road. And the only other house nearby was the host's, but she was away at the time, leaving us alone. Arriving around 4 p.m., we had a pleasant evening cooking dinner and playing board games by candlelight, after a long day of hiking. As the night progressed, I went to the loft to sleep, while Sean decided to sit outside and have a smoke. However, around 20 minutes later, I was jolted awake by a loud banging sound on the cabin's side, in that half-asleep, half-conscious state. I called down to Sean, who was outside, and he also heard the noise but wasn't too concerned, assuming it was perhaps a tree branch falling against the cabin. Nonetheless, another loud banging sound followed, emanating from a different part of the cabin. Now alarmed, I climbed down from the loft, and Sean entered the cabin, telling me to grab anything sharp and return to the loft. We were uncertain about the source of the noises, but decided to stay cautious and alert. The unsettling events continued with intermittent scraping sounds and methodical footsteps around the cabin. Our anxiety grew as we worried about what or who might be outside, observing us through the large windows and screens. Sean ordered me to stay in the loft while he stayed downstairs, with a hunting knife and stick, ready to defend ourselves if needed. The ordeal carried on 4 hours, with the noises persisting until the early hours of the morning. We were terrified, fearing that someone might break in at any moment. However, as the dawn approached, the sounds finally ceased. With the first light of morning, we quickly packed our belongings and left the cabin. There were no clear signs of the intruder outside, leaving us bewildered and unsettled. Upon contacting the airborne host about our experience, she suggested it might have been a porcupine, which we found hard to believe given the nature of the sounds. To this day, Sean and I debate the possible explanations, with him thinking it might have been a local trying to scare us away. Regardless, we're just grateful that we made it through the night unharmed, and the memory of that terrifying experience lingers with us. Allow me to share a chilling tale with you, one set in a gym that used to be my sanctuary, but quickly turned into a living nightmare. As a fitness enthusiast, I spent countless hours there, feeling at home amidst the clanging weights and pumping music. However, one evening, something felt off. The usual buzz of activity was absent, and an eerie quietness filled the air. Despite my unease, I proceeded with my workout, trying to ignore the strange sensation. As time passed, the gym grew eerily empty, and a sense of isolation enveloped me. I couldn't help but notice a figure lurking in the shadows, giving me the unsettling feeling of being watched. Initially dismissing it as paranoia, I continued, but the feeling of dread intensified. Whispers reached my ears, indistinguishable but undeniably sinister. Goosebumps covered my skin, and a chilling sensation swept over me. As I tried to leave, the door slammed shut, trapping me inside. The gym transformed into a terrifying labyrinth, with flickering lights casting ominous shadows. My heart pounded, and panic set in. Around a corner, I encountered a group of masked individuals, not fellow gym-goers, but malevolent beings with dark intentions. Their leader revealed a vendetta against the gym and its visitors, promising pain and suffering. Faced with the grim reality of survival, I prepared to fight back, rallying my strength and determination. Despite putting up a fierce fight, I was overwhelmed, and the odds seemed insurmountable. Just as hope began to fade, another gym-goer, who had managed to escape, joined the battle. Together, we fought with all our might, eventually breaking free and making a frantic escape. Gasping for air and trembling with fear and relief, I left the gym, scarred physically and emotionally. The place that was once a symbol of strength and empowerment became a battleground for survival. Though I vowed never to return, the memories of that night lingered, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can hide beneath the ordinary facade of familiar places. The gym, once a sanctuary, was forever tainted, leaving me forever vigilant about the potential darkness that can lurk within seemingly benign surroundings. Being an enthusiastic gym-goer, I've always cherished the gym as my sanctuary, a place where I could relieve stress, improve my fitness, and find solace in the rhythmic motions of weights and cardio machines. Little did I know that one day would turn this haven into an unforgettable nightmare. It all began during a seemingly ordinary workout session. After finishing a set of bench presses, a group of men entered the gym, and their presence immediately sent an unsettling vibe. An aura of aggression and dominance surrounded them. Among them was Tony, a notorious local bully known for his intimidating demeanor and penchant for trouble. I tried to focus on my routine, ignoring their loud laughter that echoed through the gym, but it seemed I had become their target. Tony approached me with a menacing smile, mocking my workout and belittling my efforts. His gang encircled us, trapping me with no escape route. Despite my fear, I mustered up courage and defended myself against their relentless insults. However, this only fueled their aggression, and Tony threw a punch that struck me in the gut, causing immense pain. Desperately seeking help, I looked to the gym's security camera, but it had been tampered with and offered no assistance. It became evident that this encounter was not random, but a calculated act of cruelty designed to isolate me from any potential witnesses. The assault continued, and as they relentlessly attacked, my body ached, and my surroundings became a twisted maze of pain. Yet, in the midst of this chaos, a surge of determination rose within me. I refused to be a victim. Drawing on every ounce of strength, I fought back, throwing punches and strikes in a desperate bid to reclaim my dignity and escape. The gym turned into a whirlwind of chaos and desperation, with equipment crashing and screams filling the air. Finally, I managed to break free, bloodied and battered, making my way towards the gym's exit with the distant sound of approaching sirens signaling that help was on the way. Recovery took weeks, both physically and emotionally, and the scars left by the encounter were a constant reminder of the darkness that can hide beneath the surface of ordinary places. However, I refused to be consumed by fear. Returning to the gym, I embraced a new sense of resilience and determination, turning it into a battleground for personal growth and empowerment. Observing others in the gym, I recognized that behind their determination, there might be hidden scars and stories of struggle. We are all connected by our shared battles, and it is in overcoming these challenges that we find strength. I urge fellow gym-goers to be vigilant, standing up against bullies and offering support to those in need. Together, let's create a sanctuary where everyone can find solace and strength on their journey towards self-improvement. Passionate about fitness, I eagerly seized the opportunity to open my own gym, even though it started as a small and modest establishment. Soon, it gained popularity within the community. However, I had no inkling that this seemingly thriving gym would soon become a place of terror and nightmares. It all began with strange incidents: a displaced dumbbell, flickering lights, and unexplained sounds echoing through the empty halls after closing time. Initially, I brushed them off as coincidences, attributing them to the stress of running a business. Yet, as these occurrences grew more frequent and unsettling, my confidence wavered. One evening, while closing up, a chilling breeze swept through the gym, despite all windows and doors being tightly shut. Unsettling whispers reached my ears, and a sense of foreboding settled in. Members began reporting strange experiences during their workouts: moving weights, malfunctioning equipment, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched. Some even claimed to have seen shadowy figures lurking in the corners. Unable to ignore the unease any longer, I decided to delve into the gym's history. Shockingly, I discovered that the gym was built on the site of an old psychiatric hospital, now long demolished, with rumors of mistreatment and unexplained deaths. Further research revealed that the gym's foundation was laid atop an old underground morgue, where deceased patients were stored before burial. The restless spirits of the departed seemed to have found a way to manifest in the present. Fear gripped me as I realized the gravity of the situation had unknowingly built my gym atop a place haunted by tormented souls seeking release and causing havoc in the process. I sought to cleanse the space, consulting paranormal experts and performing rituals, but the malevolent spirits were not easily appeased. Instead, their presence grew more menacing, seemingly feeding off the fear and despair in the gym. As the gym's atmosphere darkened, members became reluctant to visit, leading to a decline in its once thriving community. Desperation set in as I faced the possibility of losing everything I had worked so hard to build. One fateful night, while closing up alone, the spirits unleashed their full fury. Equipment flew through the air, mirrors shattered, and blood-curdling screams filled the halls. I found myself trapped in a nightmarish realm of terror and chaos. Summoning every ounce of courage, I made a final stand, confronting the spirits and pleading for their peace and release from the gym. With trepidation and determination, I recited ancient prayers and incantations, desperately seeking a way to break the cycle of horror. Gradually, the chaos subsided, and the spirits seemed to find solace, fading away, leaving the gym in an eerie calm, bearing the scars of the nightmare. The ordeal took a toll on me, both financially and emotionally, forcing me to make the difficult decision to close the gym due to its tainted reputation. It had become a haunting reminder of the darkness that can linger within both the realm of the living and the dead. Though I've moved on from the gym, the experience has forever altered my perception of the world and the fragility of our peace of mind. It serves as a stark reminder that even the most ordinary places can harbor deep secrets and hidden terrors. As four close friends, Jenna, Sarah, Megan, and Lily, we were regulars at our local gym. Our shared love for fitness had formed a strong bond among us, pushing each other to achieve new heights. Little did we know that our beloved gym would soon become the backdrop for a nightmarish encounter that would forever be etched in our memories. It was a typical Friday evening when we arrived at the gym, filled with energy and excitement for our workout session. The bustling atmosphere with the clinking of weights, rhythmic thumping of treadmills, and cheerful chatter set the scene for a great workout. As we settled into our favorite corner of the gym and began our routines, time seemed to fly by, and we were absorbed in our exercises, the outside world fading away. However, amidst our focus, an eerie silence slowly settled in. The gym suddenly seemed unusually empty, with only a few scattered individuals in sight. The feeling of unease crept into our hearts, but we dismissed it as mere coincidence. However, that discomfort persisted, growing more intense with each passing moment. Our attention was drawn to a strange man lingering in the corner, his gaze fixed on us. His unsettling presence and sinister eyes made us feel on edge. Determined to escape his watchful stare, we decided to relocate to another area of the gym. Unfortunately, our attempts to evade him were in vain, as he followed us like an ominous shadow. As we continued our workout, the atmosphere became tense, and the gym's once familiar surroundings took on a twisted aura. The equipment seemed to cast an eerie glow, and every creak of the floor and flicker of the lights sent shivers down our spines. Eventually, the man approached us, his malevolent grin sending chills down our spines. His cold and menacing voice revealed that he knew more about us than any stranger should, as he divulged personal details and secrets. Panic overtook us as we desperately sought an escape, but to our horror, we found ourselves trapped within the gym. The world outside had transformed into darkness, leaving us with no means of escape. As fear threatened to overwhelm us, we summoned our strength and courage. United in our determination to fight back, we confronted the man, even though our voices shook with fear. In a battle of wills, the gym became a battlefield as we fought for our survival, using every ounce of strength we had. Amidst the chaos, the lights flickered and died, plunging us into darkness. Blind and disoriented, we relied on our instincts and unyielding spirit to find a way out. Guided by a faint light, we finally emerged into the night, gasping for breath and shaking with adrenaline. Though we had escaped the gym, the haunting memory of that night remained with us. Our lives were forever changed, but through the darkness, we discovered our strength and resilience. Bound by the horrors we overcame, we stood united, refusing to let fear control our lives. As we moved forward, we carried the weight of that experience, but also the triumph of survival. The gym, once the site of our nightmare, became a symbol of our unwavering courage. We are warriors, forever bound by the horrors we faced, and we will not be silenced by fear. As an avid gym goer, I have always been drawn to the sight of clanging weights, the sound of clanking iron, and the camaraderie among fellow fitness enthusiasts. So, when the opportunity arose to work as a personal trainer in a prestigious gym, I eagerly jumped at the chance. Little did I know that this seemingly perfect gym would turn into the setting of a nightmare I could never have anticipated. The gym was a state-of-the-art facility with modern equipment and an energizing atmosphere that motivated everyone to chase their personal fitness goals. However, beneath its glossy surface, something sinister lurked. It all began with subtle, almost imperceptible signs. During late-night shifts, the gym's once bustling activity transformed into an eerie and desolate space. Shadows played tricks along the walls, and an unexplained tension filled the air. As the weeks passed, the incidents became more pronounced. Equipment would mysteriously rearrange itself overnight, and strange sounds echoed through the empty corridors. Even then, we trainers chose to downplay the significance of these occurrences, dismissing them as mere coincidences. However, one night, while training a client in a secluded corner, I caught a glimpse of movement in the mirrors. My heart skipped a beat, but when I turned to investigate, there was nothing there. I attributed it to exhaustion and dim lighting, hoping it was just a trick of the mind. But the incidents continued, and as time went on, my unease grew stronger. The gym's atmosphere became increasingly eerie, with whispers and inexplicable occurrences becoming more frequent. One fateful evening, as I was closing up alone, the eeriness reached its peak. The lights flickered, shadows danced, and a sense of being watched overcame me. Panic surged through my veins as I realized I was no longer alone. Someone or something was present, and escape seemed impossible. Navigating the gym with trepidation, I stumbled upon an old storage room filled with dusty photos and newspaper clippings, detailing a tragic accident that had happened years before. The gym had witnessed a fatal incident, leaving the restless spirits of those lost souls trapped within its walls. Determined to break the cycle and free these tormented spirits, I delved into the realm of the paranormal. Armed with ancient rituals and prayers, I invoked the power of light and love, pleading for forgiveness and release. As the rituals unfolded, the whispers ceased, replaced by a profound silence. A sense of peace washed over the gym, and I knew that the spirits had found solace and departed to the next realm. The gym returned to its lively state, and the strange happenings became nothing more than a distant memory. This experience left an indelible mark on my soul, reminding me that even ordinary places can harbor extraordinary secrets. I carry the knowledge that evil can manifest anywhere, and I remain vigilant whenever I step into gyms, aware that shadows may conceal more than just sweat and iron. I had been eagerly looking forward to this first date, filled with anticipation and nervous excitement. We had decided on an upscale restaurant, known for its exquisite cuisine and elegant ambience. The dimly lit room exuded sophistication, setting the stage for what I hoped would be a truly memorable evening. Little did I know that the night would take a chilling turn, transforming the romantic atmosphere into a harrowing nightmare. As we settled into our seats, the conversation flowed effortlessly, laughter filling the air as we shared stories and discovered common interests. The initial awkwardness faded away, replaced by a growing connection. I held on to a glimmer of hope, believing that this date could lead to something beautiful. However, as the night progressed, an unsettling feeling started to creep within me. There was something off about my date's demeanor, a subtle shift in their expression that revealed a darkness hidden behind their charming smile. It was as if a veil had been lifted, exposing a side I had not anticipated. Their words carried an undercurrent of malevolence, and their laughter took on an eerie quality, creating an atmosphere of suspense and a sense that something sinister was at play. As we were served our meals, a chill ran down my spine, and an unsettling scent lingered around the food, raising doubts about its ingredients and intentions. With each bite, a growing unease settled within me, as if the food held some hidden power, ensnaring me slowly. I watched my date closely, their eyes glinting with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. The conversation took a troubling turn, revealing a dark backstory marred by manipulation, deceit, and a thirst for control. The true nature of my date unfolded before my eyes, and I realized I was in the presence of a dangerous individual. The luxurious surroundings of the restaurant turned into a prison, trapping me in a nightmarish situation. Panic surged through me, urging me to escape, but I knew I had to tread cautiously. The situation had escalated beyond a simple first date. It had become a battle for survival. I searched for an exit strategy, but the restaurant seemed to have transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and hidden corridors. The staff appeared oblivious to the impending danger, leaving me to fend for myself in this twisted game of manipulation and control. Every passing moment intensified my fear, and the elegant surroundings only heightened the sense of dread. The walls closed in, suffocating me with their oppressive presence. Summoning all my courage, I discreetly messaged a friend for help, praying for a lifeline in this terrifying situation. Time stretched on, each minute feeling like an eternity as I awaited their response, desperate for a way out. Finally, the reply came, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. I discreetly excused myself to use the restroom, seizing the opportunity to escape this nightmare. With trembling hands, I made my way through the maze-like corridors, feeling my heart pound in my chest as adrenaline fueled my flight. Finally, I reached the exit and stepped out into the cool night air, overwhelmed with relief and profound gratitude for my narrow escape. I vowed never to underestimate the importance of trusting my instincts and being aware of warning signs. The experience left an indelible mark on my soul, a constant reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface. No longer would I take first dates lightly, for I had witnessed firsthand the nightmare that can unfold in seemingly benign settings. Walking away, I felt forever changed by the encounter. The fancy restaurant, once a symbol of elegance and romance, became a haunting reminder of the dangers that can lie in wait. The scars of that night serve as a lasting reminder of the horrors that can befall even the most ordinary of situations. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a warm golden glow bathed the tranquil beach. Walking hand in hand with my date, we felt the soft sand beneath our feet. The atmosphere was serene, creating the perfect setting for a romantic first date. As we strolled along the shoreline, the conversation flowed effortlessly. We laughed, shared childhood memories, and discovered our mutual love for the ocean. The sound of seagulls overhead and the salty breeze contributed to a sense of serenity, putting both of us at ease. However, as darkness descended, the mood shifted. The beach that had seemed inviting and peaceful during the day now took on an eerie quality. The distant glow of city lights seemed worlds away, leaving us in isolated darkness. A sense of unease settled within me, as if the idyllic beach had a hidden secret. Though I tried to brush off the feeling, as my overactive imagination, the uneasiness persisted. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of movement, causing my heart to skip a beat. I turned, hoping for reassurance in my date's eyes, but instead, I saw a flicker of fear. It was evident that we were not alone on the desolate beach. Whispers carried on the wind, filled with malevolent energy, and my mind conjured up terrifying scenarios of what could be lurking in the darkness. In a desperate bid for safety, we turned and ran, our footsteps pounding against the sand. Panic propelled us forward as we struggled to find an escape route. The once tranquil beach had transformed into a terrifying battleground. Finally, we found a small cave nestled within the dunes, where we sought refuge from our pursuer. Minutes felt like hours, as we waited in the suffocating darkness of the cave. The suspense was unbearable, and our hearts pounded in our ears. The only sound was the harsh rasp of our breath, a constant reminder of the danger lurking just outside. Eventually, the footsteps faded into the distance, leaving behind a haunting silence. Emerging from our hiding place, we trembled with a mix of relief and lingering fear. We knew we had narrowly escaped a nightmare, but the memory of that beach encounter would forever haunt us. We made our way back to civilization, forever changed by the terrors we had faced. The once picturesque beach, a symbol of tranquility and possibility, now held a sinister allure, reminding us of the darkness that can lurk within the most unexpected places. Our first date, intended to be filled with anticipation and hope, had become a haunting experience etched into our memories. It served as a stark reminder that danger can strike at any moment, even in the most seemingly idyllic settings. We parted ways that night, bound by our shared experience and forever marked by the horror we had endured. The beach, once a place of beauty, now served as a reminder of the terrifying encounter we had faced. As I lay in bed that night, the images of that beach and the horrors we had encountered replayed in my mind. The realization that darkness can hide in unexpected places haunted me, shattering the illusion of safety and security. I had agreed to embark on a blind date, with hopes of finding love or, at the very least, an enjoyable evening. We decided to meet at a cozy little cafe, a popular spot known for its dim lighting and intimate atmosphere. Little did I know that this seemingly innocent first date would evolve into a distressing experience that forever altered my perception of dating. Upon arriving at the cafe, my heart raced with a mixture of nerves and excitement. Scanning the room, I finally spotted my date, and we both exchanged smiles as our eyes met. We engaged in pleasantries and small talk, settling into a secluded booth tucked away in a corner. The conversation flowed smoothly, gradually revealing more about our aspiration, dreams, and shared interests. It seemed like a promising connection, and the initial awkwardness soon faded away. However, as the night progressed, I began to notice something unsettling lurking beneath the surface. My date's demeanor shifted, and their laughter took on an eerie quality. There was a strange intensity in their eyes, and their words carried a sinister edge. It was as though a mask had slipped, revealing a person I never expected. With each passing moment, their stories became more disturbing tales of past relationships gone awry, accounts of manipulation and deceit. It was a disturbing tapestry of toxicity and psychological manipulation that they expertly wove. A chill crawled down my spine, and my instincts screamed for me to escape, but I found myself trapped, unable to tear away from this enigmatic figure. The suspense in the air was thick, and each uttered word sent shivers of terror through my veins. As the night wore on, I uncovered the depths of my date's darkness, a twisted satisfaction in their smile, and veiled threats laced within their words. They had a sinister agenda, a craving for power and control that colored every aspect of their actions. Yearning for the safety of the outside world, away from the oppressive atmosphere of the cafe, I hesitated to leave, fearing the consequences of triggering their wrath. Unknowingly, I had stumbled into a nightmarish scenario, entangled in a dangerous game I signed up for. My mind raced, desperately searching for an escape plan. The fear tightened its grip on me, and I knew I had to find a way out before it was too late, before this twisted encounter transformed into something far more sinister. Summoning every ounce of courage, I pretended to be exhausted and suggested calling it a night. My date agreed, but their smile never wavered, and their voice carried a chilling undertone. Stepping out into the cool night air brought relief, but the terror still lingered. I had survived the ordeal, but the memories of that fateful first date would be etched into my mind forever. From that moment on, I made a solemn vow to trust my instincts and approach dating with caution. The encounter shattered my innocence and left me scarred, serving as a haunting reminder that evil can hide behind a charming smile and seemingly innocent conversation. As I walked away, I carried the realization that safety cannot be taken for granted, for I had glimpsed the true face of horror on that ill-fated first date. It was an idyllic evening, with the sun setting in a blaze of oranges and pinks as we strolled along the beach. He appeared charming, his smile infectious, and his gestures thoughtful. Walking hand in hand, he surprised me with a single red rose, a romantic gesture that made my heart flutter. It felt like the perfect setting for a first date, a promising beginning to something special. As darkness descended, we decided to head to a nearby cafe for dinner. The atmosphere was cozy, with the chatter of other diners filling the air. We laughed, shared stories, and delved into each other's lives. It was easy to get lost in his charisma and feel a connection forming. However, as the night wore on, I began to notice subtle shifts in his demeanor. His once warm and genuine smile turned slightly sinister, and his eyes held an unfamiliar glint, as if something dark lurked beneath the surface. I brushed off the feeling as mere paranoia, attributing it to the dim lighting and the unfamiliarity of the situation. I convinced myself to give him the benefit of the doubt and see where the night would lead. After leaving the cafe, he suggested taking a detour to a secluded spot. The moon cast an eerie glow on the surroundings, and the wind whispered through the trees. Hesitated, unsure of what lay ahead, but curiosity mingled with fear, urging me to follow. We arrived at an abandoned building, its dilapidated state sending a chill down my spine. Reluctantly, I stepped inside, the creaking floorboards echoing through the empty space. It was then that the atmosphere shifted entirely. His charming facade crumbled, revealing a darkness I couldn't have anticipated. His voice took on a sinister tone, and his words were laced with malice. The man I thought I knew was nothing more than a stranger, wearing a mask of charm. Panic surged through me as I realized I had fallen into a trap, a nightmare from which escape seemed impossible. I looked around desperately for an exit, but the doors were locked and the windows barred. He moved closer, his eyes gleaming with twisted delight as he reveled in my fear. It became clear that this night was never meant to be a romantic encounter. It was a sick game, a trap meticulously set to ensnare the unsuspecting. I fought back the rising terror, mustering every ounce of strength and courage within me. I refused to let fear consume me entirely. As he lunged forward, I found an opening, a chance to break free. I ran with my heart pounding in my ears, his footsteps trailing behind me. Racing through the darkness, my breath ragged. Every shadow seemed to hold an unimaginable horror, and every sound felt like a threat. Adrenaline surged through my veins, propelling me forward, urging me to find a way out. Finally, I stumbled upon a road. A glimmer of hope in the inky blackness, a car approached, its headlights piercing through the night. I flagged it down, desperately pleading for help. The driver, a kind stranger, sensed my distress and offered me refuge. As I sat in the safety of the stranger's car, the reality of the night's event settled in, leaving me shaken and haunted by the experience. The picturesque evening had turned into a terrifying ordeal, a stark reminder of the darkness that can hide behind charming facades. It was our first date, and I felt a surge of excitement. We had chosen a cozy restaurant with dim lighting and a romantic ambience. As we sat across the table from each other, I couldn't help but notice how he seemed distracted, frequently glancing at his phone. At first, I brushed it off, assuming he was just caught up in a conversation or work-related matters. However, as the evening went on, it became evident that his phone had become the primary focus of his attention. Feeling ignored, I decided to take out my phone and immerse myself in the virtual world as well. The silence between us grew, and it felt as if we were two strangers sharing a meal, disconnected from each other. Just as I was about to give up hope of salvaging the evening, he looked up from his phone and met my gaze with a serious expression. He confessed something unsettling. The date was not what it seemed. He was here under pressure from a secret organization that had been monitoring him closely. They demanded that he bring me to this place, claiming that I possessed something they wanted. Fear gripped me, and I glanced around the restaurant, unsure of who might be part of this enigmatic group. It felt like I had stepped into a conspiracy, and I was unsure of how to react. With a sense of urgency, he slid a USB drive across the table and explained that I should watch its contents. As I held the device in my trembling hands, I knew my life was about to change drastically. My curiosity battled with my fear, but in the end, I couldn't resist knowing the truth. Later that night, I plugged the USB drive into my computer, and encrypted files appeared before me. I couldn't turn away now. The screen flickered to life, and as I opened the first file, I knew there was no going back. The files revealed a dark and sinister world, one filled with conspiracy, danger, and secrets. My life was no longer ordinary, and I was thrust into a battle for survival, desperate to unravel the tangled web of deceit and betrayal. Facing the unknown and unimaginable, I couldn't deny my quest for the truth. The journey ahead was perilous, testing my strength and sanity. As the clock ticked, I braced myself for the descent into darkness, knowing that my life would never be the same again. Ready to confront the horrors that awaited, I steeled myself for the treacherous path ahead, determined to unveil the truth, no matter the cost. The secrets hidden within those files would challenge everything I thought I knew. And the darkness that lay ahead was a test I could not avoid.